Hey, what's up everybody? 8-Bit Flashback here. Today I'm checking out the Q9 handheld game console with 3,000 built-in games for various different systems such as Game Boy, Super Nintendo, NES, Genesis, arcade, and more. So this features a 3-inch TFT screen that seems to be a fairly decent screen, and is powered by a rechargeable 1800 mAh battery, and it has 16 gigabytes of onboard memory with 3,000 built-in games, plus the option to add more games via the microSD card slot. Inside the box you'll find an AV cable so you can hook up to your TV, and a charging cable. This features a 4-button layout with a D-pad and a 360 micro joystick, which I found myself not really using, but it's a nice extra option. It also has left and right shoulder buttons, which makes game compatibility much better having these 2 extra buttons. Located on the top of the handheld is a brightness button so you can make that screen brighter or dimmer. Also on the top is going to be a charging port and your AV output. On the side over here is going to be your power button. On the bottom is going to be your micro SD card slot, a reset button, and your headphone jack. And on the opposite side will be your volume control. And then on the back of the handheld is going to be your rechargeable battery pack, and this does not have to be removed. You can just charge that with the charging cable. And this features a smoke gray transparent case, and I think it kind of looks cool. And this actually feels really nice and comfortable when I'm holding it in my hands because of the size and the button layout. Inside the settings menu, there's not a whole lot going on. You can adjust your brightness, the backlight, the AV output, and a few other things. There's a file browser, there's also a picture viewer, and a music player. When selecting that controller icon, that'll give you access to the built-in games. Inside here is going to be 2 different folders. One for TF games, which are going to be games you add via the micro SD card, and simulation games, which will be the games that are built in, which features games from arcade, Game Boy Advance, Super Famicom, MEGADRIVE, Famicom, Game Boy Color, Sega Master System, Game Gear, and Game Boy. For arcade, it has 153 different games in CPS1, CPS2, and Neo Geo ROMs in .FBA format. As far as emulation quality goes, this sound is okay. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's not bad. With most of the emulators, you'll probably experience light screen tearing and some occasional slowdown with certain games. Surprisingly, Marvel Superheroes plays pretty decent on this handheld. Here's a look at the viewing angles on the screen, which I would consider very acceptable, especially for a handheld. Now because there is 3,000 built-in games, I don't have near enough time to test and show everything, but I did test a handful of games for each system, and the results seem to be fairly consistent, and I will be demonstrating each system to show you how it plays. For those out there looking for really accurate emulation, this might not be right for you. But what is nice is most of the games I would consider playable, and you have 3,000 to pick from. Now I'm going to go ahead and play Marvel Superheroes here for just a few so we can see how it plays. To access the in-game menu, you can push Start and Select, and that'll access that menu. Then from there, you got a couple different things you can choose from. You can remap the buttons, or you can save the game, reset the game, or quit it. And to save the game, you just select Archive, and then select which spot you want to save the game to. And then when you want to resume that game at a later point, you just select that Save Game, hit over to the right, then load the game, and that'll put you right back where you were. As far as the screen aspect ratio goes, I haven't seen any settings for that. Everything seems to be pre-configured, so some of the games might be in full screen and some of those might have some bars on the side. It just depends which emulator you're using. Now let's try out another arcade game. This is a Neo Geo game, Metal Slug, and it seems to play pretty decent as well. But I did notice some light screen tearing. Now let's try out the Game Boy Advance emulator, and there is 744 different games on here, and we'll go ahead and play Terminator 3. And I'm not sure why this is, but with a lot of these Chinese handhelds that are comparable, a lot of times the Game Boy Advance emulator and the arcade emulators seem to have the best performance. And that seems to be true with this handheld as well. For whatever reason, they just seem to be optimized better for the similar chipsets that these Chinese handhelds use. Now let's check out the Super Famicom emulator, and there is 270 games. And unfortunately, there's just too many games to be showing you all of them on here, but There is quite a few to pick from. Here is Sega Genesis or MEGADRIVE, and we're going to try out Sonic 2. And right away you can hear the music's a little bit off, but as you start playing it speeds back up, and it seems to be playing at a pretty decent speed, although it's still a little bit off. And if you pay attention, you'll probably notice some screen tearing as well. And for the Genesis and MEGADRIVE games, there's a total of 638 games. Now I'm trying out the NES or Famicom emulator, and there is a total of 713 games. Next up is Game Boy Color with 178 games. Now I'm on the Sega Master System, and it has 50 games. Now let's check out Game Gear, and there is 40 games, and I'm going to try out one of my favorite games for the Game Gear, which is Shinobi. And last up is the original Game Boy with 24 different games. Now there's no perfect emulation happening with this handheld, but it does offer a lot of different games to choose from, making this a good value for some people out there. So if you are interested in getting this handheld, these are available at tomtop.com for right around $49, and that link will be in the description. And now it's time for me to go. If you like this video, if you could, hit that like button, and have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.